Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk to you guys about some throwback products that I still love in my collection. So these are products, specifically ones that I feel like either I used to talk about a lot or other people used to talk about a lot that you don't hear as much about anymore. And ones that have really kind of like stood the test of time. So there's a lot of products that I could have talked about that are no longer in my collection, like ones that I've used up or etc. But these are ones that are actually in my collection that I do still use and I still love, but maybe I haven't mentioned in a while. A couple of them I definitely have, but most of these I haven't talked about in a long time. So let's dive in. I have a lot of these products on my face today. So let's start with this one because it's the largest one in my little box over here. So this is the Tarte Park Avenue Princess palette. So this palette is no longer available, but I do believe you can still buy like the individual Park Avenue Princess bronzer. The palette looks like this. This is one that I've had. I want to say this is like one of the first products that I've got that I received in BoxyCharm. And this one really has stood the test of time. I've had this in, I think I had this in my summer Shop My Stash. I love this one. It's got that great like cookie scent. I do have this on as my bronzer today. I just have this one that's called Princess Cut as my bronzer today. It's a little bit more cool toned, so it's better for me this time of year in the winter when I'm more pale, but this formula is so beautiful. It's really pigmented, but it blends really easily, and I just love it so much. I love that there's like a couple of matte bronzers here, and then you've got some that have a little bit more of like a satiny kind of finish. I just love this one. It's one of those palettes too where I love the packaging. It brings me joy. Like I say, I know the palette isn't available anymore, but I do believe the single is still available, and it's just good. It's good. It holds up. These are products that like hold up against more current formulas, you know what I mean? Sort of sticking with the cheek products for now. This is the blush that I have on today. This is the Fenty Beauty Cream Blush. This is their Cheeks Out Freestyle Cream Blush in the shade Petal Poppin. Mine looks rough. Like it looks, I could have cleaned it before I did this video, but here we are. This is what I have on for my blush today. And I just feel like these got so much hype when they first came out. There wasn't a ton of cream blushes, especially in this like pan format at the time. I think we had a lot more like stick cream blushes at the time, if I'm not mistaken, and like liquid blushes. But these were like so hot and popular when they first came out, and you really don't hear anybody talk about these anymore. And I think a big part of that is just that there's so many cream blushes now. Like every brand has come out with a cream blush or a liquid blush. And I think that we've just kind of forgotten about these because they were like one of the early releases, and they hold up. The formula holds up. There's a ton of colors. There's so many more colors, and Fenty Beauty really is known for that. They have so many more colors in this range than a lot of other cream formulas that are out there, and it's one of those where it's very user-friendly. I applied it today with a duo fiber brush. You can also apply it with your fingers. You can apply this with a sponge. It doesn't lift up your foundation underneath. It lasts really nicely throughout the day. It's got a nice kind of satiny finish to it, to where it's not so dewy that you're worried about it sliding around, but it's not matte by any means, and I just love it. If you have, this is kind of like my PSA, public service announcement. If you have any of these products in your collection and you haven't reached for them in a long time, pull them out because they're good. So really love that one. Another blush that I had to mention, of course, is the Milani Baked Blush in Luminoso. This I have had for ages. This is having like a resurgence, I think, on the internet. So I guess you could say that this isn't exactly like an unsung hero in the way of like throwback products. I think Milani just released like a whole Luminoso line kind of surrounding this original formula. But this is one that I've had in my collection for ages, and it's one that I go back to again and again, especially in the summertime. This is one of my favorite summertime blushes to wear. It's that perfect like peachy golden sort of color. It's peach, but it's got this golden sheen to it. You really don't need to put on a highlighter when you're wearing these baked blushes from Milani. They've got a really beautiful glow to them. So it's like a nice one and done type of situation. Really, really beautiful. And then of course I had to mention the Mary Luminizer. Now I have talked about this one a lot on my channel because this is in my current project pan. It is like almost done, but I've had this in my collection for ages, and I feel like this is like the OG highlight. Like when highlights became popular, this was the one that everybody had, that everybody talked about. This was like the one that was popular before the Becca highlight in Champagne Pop, you know? And it really does. The formula holds up. I still love it to this day. I have it on as my highlight today. I think it's so beautiful. It works really nicely as well as like an inner corner highlight for me. And I just love it so much. And I think, again, it's one of those where a lot of people have this, but like, when was the last time you used it? It's a good one. Okay, so let's talk more about base products. And this is the foundation that I have on today. This is the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage Foundation. I do believe they just reformulated and repackaged this. I could be wrong. But this is one that I've had and loved for years. This isn't like I haven't had this one for years. I have only had this one for probably a year. But this formula is one that I've loved for a long time. And I think the newer, what is it called? True Skin? I can't remember. Their newer foundation that they have has gotten a lot of buzz over the last couple of years. And so you don't hear as many people talk about this formula, but I really didn't like that one. I didn't like that other one. I'll put a picture of it here on the screen. I can't remember what it's called, but I know a lot of people love that one. I bought it because I was influenced by Tarte. It just didn't work for me. I felt like it sat really heavily on my skin. This is such a thin formula. It's very, very liquidy. It's got like the dropper type of applicators. See how liquidy that is? It's so thin. So what I like to do with this one is put a little bit on the back of my hand and sort of smear a little on so that I don't get too much. And I layered this over top of the Star Gel Super Glowy, I'll put a picture of it here on the screen. I can't remember what things are called when they're not right in front of me, but I have that on as my primer with this over top. And even though this is a mattifying foundation, I find if you do a thin layer over top of like a glowy primer, you do get like a really nice finish that doesn't feel heavy on the skin because this is so lightweight. It doesn't sink into my lines. It lays very smoothly over the skin. It lasts really well throughout the day. It's water and sweat proof. It says right on the bottle, second skin effect. And I really think that that is true of this formula. It doesn't feel like much on your skin. It's very flexible. Like I said, you can use different primers depending on the finish that you're looking for. This also mixes really well with other foundations, with primers. You could mix this with a moisturizer to get like a tinted moisturizer. It's just one of those, because it's such a thin formula. You can really do a lot with this one. So I think this is, again, like kind of an unsung hero in terms of foundations. This formula really does hold up against other more current formulas that I've tried. Really, really love that one. This is, and forever will be, I think, my favorite concealer. This is the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. I have two different shades. I have on the shade Swan today underneath of my eyes as my concealer. I also have the shade Almond. I use this one more in the summertime when I'm a little bit more tanned. This is just such a beautiful formula. Up against all other concealers that I have tried, and I have tried a lot, this one is the most flattering on my under eyes. I am 36 years old. I have a fair bit of fine lines at this stage of my life. I do find most concealers settle into the fine lines and end up looking like pretty creepy as the day goes on. This one is the most flattering of all of the concealers in my collection. I think it has a dewier finish without being shiny, you know, it's very much skin-like. It doesn't feel like you have a cakey layer underneath of your eyes when you put it on. It just blends out so beautifully, gives really nice coverage without having to use a lot of product. And I think that's a big part of it. You use so little, or I use so little, that it just blends in so beautifully. It lasts really nicely throughout the day. It doesn't break down or look crusty or crepey as the day goes on. I just love it so much. It's so, so beautiful. It is a little bit more expensive, of course, because it's a little bit more of a high-end product. However, these bottles are enormous. There's a half an ounce in here. That's big for a concealer. So if you break this down cost per ounce, I think it's just as cost effective as a drugstore one. These will last you forever unless you're using it as a foundation. This is going to last you a very long time. The shade Almond is the oldest concealer in my collection. I have had this for an embarrassing amount of time. So really, really love that one. The powder that I'm really loving is this one here. So this is the Beauty Bakerie Flour Setting Powder. This one has been around for ages, and I feel like this is one that was really popular in a time where people were baking. And some people are still baking, don't get me wrong. That's always going to be a thing because there is a time and a place for that. But at this stage of my life, as I said, I'm in my mid-30s. I find for me, the less powder I use, the better. However, I am a combo skin type, so I do need to set my makeup down. So I find with this, you don't need a lot. A little bit of this goes a long way. It really nicely sets my makeup down without making it look heavy or cakey. I have this under my eyes today. I have this all over my face today. As you can see, there's still some luminosity to my skin. It doesn't mattify it to a point where it looks flat unless you use a ton. So I just dust a little bit all over the face with a fluffy brush, and then I press some underneath of my eyes with a stiffer brush, but not using a lot of product, just really pressing a small amount in underneath. It doesn't darken my concealer. It's just a really beautiful, finely milled powder. I have the shade Oat, which is their translucent shade. I think this comes in 2 or 3 shades. I'm not 100% sure, but it's such a good one. Like, you don't hear people talking about this one anymore, but it is so good. Moving into some more like color products, the Stila liquid eyeshadows. Okay, so I have 2 different formulas here. So I have a couple of the Glitter and Glow liquid eyeshadows, and I have one of the Shimmer and Glow liquid eyeshadows. And I have a lot of products like this in my collection. I feel like these are like the OG original liquid shadows, right? These were the ones that they really put Stila sort of on the map. I think this was like their standout product, and probably still is to this day. And a lot of brands have come out with similar products or duped this in their own way, but holding these up to other similar products in my collection, these are still my favorites. There's something special about this formula. They dry down perfectly. There's not like glitter down on my face throughout the day. They don't mess with the eyeshadow underneath where some other formulas I find do. They go on so nice and thinly, but so sparkly and beautiful. There's just, again, something really special about this formula compared to some of the dupes that have come out. I do think that these are, I don't want to say they're worth the money in the sense of like, I think buying one of these is like $30 or something like that. I don't remember. I haven't bought them in so long, but these 2, for example, I bought at Christmas time in a little duo set for like $25, and I was able to use my points to get them. So if you can get them on a deal, or you can get them in a little set, they often have sets on like during holiday times. I do think that these are really nice to have, and I do come back to them again and again. So love them so much. The colors I got at Christmas time, I don't know if they were limited edition, but I got Foxy Lady and Coral Crush, and they're just they're sparkly. There's not a lot of base to them, so they go over top of any eyeshadow look so well. Sometimes I'll just do like a little bronzer in my crease and up onto the lid and layer something like this over top. And it just looks like you did so much more than you actually did, right? So this is Foxy Lady and this is Coral Crush right there. And then the Shimmer and Glow formula, if you guys don't remember, I have the shade Kitten, which I think was like one of their most popular shades. It's kind of a rosy one, but it's a little bit more metallic, if you can see the difference. And that one I really do like, kind of tapped over top of the lid. It makes a really nice effect and really flattering for my coloring. Sticking with eyeshadows, I have a couple of palettes here that I feel like used to get a lot of buzz. So this one here is the Dose of Colors Sassy Sienna's palette, and there was a bunch of these. There was Marvelous Mauves, there was I don't remember. There was a bunch of different ones. This is the one that I have still currently in my collection. And again, I think this formula really holds up. It's very, very blendable. It's a little bit on the powdery side, but because of that, it's so easy to blend. There's really nice impact from these colors. Very flattering, like monochromatic sort of looks. They were very easy to use, these palettes, for that reason. You could use any of these colors together. It's always going to go because it's a monochromatic moment. And I do think that they still have some of these available, and I think they've re-released a few of them. So I'll see what I can link in the description box down below. I'll link all of these products down below. And then this one was the Going Coconuts palette from Colourpop. So I have this on my eyes today. I think this is still available. I'm not 100% sure. I probably should have checked. But the reason I didn't check, and I'm still mentioning it, is because everybody had this palette. Like a few years ago, this was like the neutral palette from Colourpop. If you had a neutral palette from Colourpop, this was it. Everybody talked about this one. So I'm mentioning it because I bet a bunch of you guys have this one in your collection and haven't used it in a long time. This is such a good neutral palette. So the thing I like about this is there's only 9 shades, but there is a world of difference in terms of tones between the shades, in my opinion. So the look that I have on today is very much a cool toned neutral eye look. And I just used this color here called Culotta in my crease, under my lash line, and then I went all over the lid with Da Coco right here, and then I took Palm Reader right here into my inner corner, and I sort of blended it over a little bit into the inner part of my lid, and that's it. It was very simple, but it looks so pretty. I feel like it goes really well with my outfit, even though I'm wearing like a color today. You know, it's just one of those, the tones in here are just so flattering. They're just so flattering. For my skin tone anyway, I think that this is such a flattering palette. I get a ton of use out of this one. It's one that I would recommend, if it's still available, this is one that I recommend to just about anybody. I think it's very, very flattering, very easy to work with. Like I say, everybody had it. It was so popular. You couldn't watch a YouTube video a few years ago without seeing Going Coconuts from Colourpop. Another Colourpop product that I wanted to mention was the Super Shock Shadows. So the one I brought with me today is the shade Set to Stun, but I'm kind of referring to the Super Shock Shadows in general. These have really stood the test of time, in my opinion. I think a lot of brands have come out with sort of similar products in a way, but there's something so special about these Super Shock Shadows. They're so affordable. They add such a beautiful sparkle and dimension to any eye look. A lot of them have, like this one here has quite a bit of base to it, but a lot of them are a little bit more sheer and are mostly sparkle. So you can get a similar look to using something like these liquid shadows without having to use a liquid if you're not comfortable with that. These are just so easy. You stick your finger in and you tap it on. Easy. It's kind of that cream to powder formula. They're just so good. I would have 100 of these in my collection. If I had access, more easy access to Colourpop, if I lived somewhere where we had like an Ulta or a Target where you can pick up Colourpop in person, I would have way more Colourpop Super Shock Shadows in my collection. It's one of those things where I'm like, I have to just resist the urge to do a giant Colourpop order and order like the vault sets when they come out. I just love these so much. A couple more products for the eyes I have here. So the NYX Epic Ink liner is still my favorite liquid liner on the market. High-end drugstore, just period. It's the best one that I have tried. I have it on my eyes today. It's such a perfect, precise little marker. It's just so good. It's one of those where it is a brush tip, and I think that's part of it. Because it's a brush tip, it's just, you get the nice little swoop. I can do a little, like, it's just the tiniest baby wing today. I have so much more control over this than I have over other liquid liners, where I can actually do a tiny liner and it doesn't turn into a giant wing because things just got weird. I just love this one so much. Anytime I'm testing a new liquid liner and it's not working out for me, I always end up fixing the mess with this one. It's just so, it's reliable. It's a reliable, old faithful liquid liner. And like I say, it just has stood the test of time. This really has, it's been around for ages. Millions of other liquid liners have come out and I just always go back to this one. It's so good. Another one that I come back to all of the time is the Covergirl Exhibitionist mascaras. This is the Exhibitionist Uncensored. I love this one. I also love the original Exhibitionist mascara. It's one of those where I forget how much I love it until I'm using it again. I've been testing a lot of mascaras over the last like year or so. I've gotten quite a bit in like BoxyCharm and Babe Box and, you know, ones that I've wanted to test out, etc. And so I've been testing out a bunch of different ones, and I've just been finding I'm like, I'm just not happy with how my lashes look. And I had one of these in my makeup drawer that was unopened, and I opened it recently and I was like, oh yeah, I do love this one. It's not the most volumizing mascara on the market. It's not the most lengthening mascara on the market, but it just makes my lashes look pretty. Like, it gives me pretty fluttery lashes. It gives me a little bit of volume. It gives me lots of separation. It gives me some length. It doesn't transfer underneath of my eyes. It checks all the boxes. It doesn't necessarily like blow me out of the water with like length and volume, but it's just, I can rely on this one. Again, it's Old Faithful. I love it. It's got that like really floofy kind of wand, you know, that I love. And yeah, I always come back to this one. I really love it a lot. And then last but not least, I have a couple of lip products here, and I have both of these on today. So this lip liner I have had, well, you can tell I've had it for a while. This is the NYX Slide On Glide On lip liner in the shade Nude Suede Shoes. I feel like this is one that everybody had at one point in time. I used to hear people talk about this one all the time, and this is one that just lives in my purse. It lives in my purse. It's my perfect nude. It's that perfect, like, your lips but better, but not pink. Right? It's kind of a nudie, like, it's not brown, but it's not pink, you know? It's just a true nude, really works for my skin tone. It's creamy, it stays in place really well. It's just a good one. It's just a good one. And then last but not least, I have the Buxom lip gloss. This is the full-on cream lip gloss in the shade Moscow Mule. I have this on my lips today, and it's this formula, again, it holds up. I feel like everybody used to talk about the Buxom lip glosses. They're like really beautiful plumping lip glosses. They have shimmery ones, and then they have these full-on lip cream ones that have a little bit more color and no shimmer in them. They're just so good, and nobody talks about them anymore. I feel like everybody's on to like the Lawless Forget the Filler lip gloss, and I like that one. I have had it, I actually used one of those up completely. But truth be told, I actually like the Buxom formula better. I find it less sticky. It's plumping, but it doesn't dry my lips out. The Lawless one did dry my lips out over time. I felt like at the end of the day, my lips were kind of peeling after wearing that one all day. This one I think is a little less sticky, and it's a little less thick on the lips. So it just kind of feels, it just feels very comfortable to wear. It's plumping without being uncomfortable. I do have very sensitive lips when it comes to plumping ingredients, and this one is just like minty plumpy, you know? It's almost like refreshing. It just feels really, really nice on the lips. The color lasts really well throughout the day. I just love it. If you have a bunch of these in your collection and you haven't used them in a while, pull them out. They're good ones. You can get these a lot of the time at Christmas in like sets, where you can like keep a couple and give a couple away. You know, they're just really, really good, and nobody talks about them anymore. It's so interesting. And that's kind of what got me going with this. I'm trying to buy less. I'm trying to buy very little, to be honest. I'm working on home renovations. My money is just going elsewhere. So aside from BoxyCharm, I'm really not buying any makeup right now. And I'm realizing that the newer products that I've tried aren't necessarily my favorites. I do oftentimes kind of go back to some of these old faves and throwback products. So I want to do a little bit more focusing on older products on this channel, because I would bet that you guys have a lot of these in your collection. So let me know in the comments down below, what are some throwback products that you still love? And would you like to see more content about older products on the channel? I think I really want to focus in on like project panning, shop my stash, new ways to love old products, you know, stuff like that. We don't need to buy everything that comes out. And I'm really excited to share that with you guys. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about these older products and which ones you have in your collection still. I always love to chat with you guys in the comments down below. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon in another video. Bye.